Yo, what's up guys? This is Maverick here, ready for some Beastars. Before we begin though, there's something I like to say, and that is the opening for this anime, Wild Side by Ali. The full version has been released. Ali, I believe, stands for Alien Liberty International, and it's out on YouTube now, the full version of the song. It's out on YouTube, it's out on Spotify, and, well, you can just listen to all its goodness in all its glory, right? I've been waiting for the full version for quite some time already. Like the endings, they're good and all, and of course, as I mentioned last episode as well, the full versions of the endings are out as well. The single has been dropped, but still, the opening, man. Now, the only thing that I have to say is the opening, even the full version, is actually quite short. Like the anime version is 1:30, the full version is literally like 2 minutes 30 seconds if you cut out the prologue there, but still, be sure to check it out. I'll put a link down in the description below so you can just find that out yourselves. Now, as for the actual story at hand, well, we know that shit's about to hit the fan, right? Legoshi has seen Haru and Louis together, and he is seeing blood right now. I guess figuratively, although it might be literally in a quick second. He is a wolf after all. But anyways, let's get into the episode and see what kind of drama it's about to entail. Alright, so the beginning was actually the opening, so I skipped that. Like I said, just go watch the full version, and let's get into the episode in 3, 2, 1, play. Hmm? Like I said, it's kind of hard to just suddenly turn into an alpha male. Getting the floss stuck on your. Alright, that's certainly interesting. Mayor? A lion? Hmm. Interesting. Ooh. Speaking of. Ah. He's on the attack! Alright. By the way, I talked a little bit last episode in regards to Japanese charactering guys as herbivores and carnivores based on their attitude towards dating and whatnot. So he's now trying to turn into an actual, you know, carnivore, both literally and figuratively. Ah, couldn't make it. But that's just all the more time to talk with each other, right? No, the first time you met was out in the courtyard. Ah, I can't say I hate this kind of personality. Hey, he's actually speaking quite earnestly. What does that have to do with being a wolf? Live constantly followed by death. So, live life to the fullest? Is that her philosophy? Oh, that's actually quite funny. I mean, if it's quite obvious that she's not, yeah, right? Pulling her along. You might want to watch where you're running, dude. Alright. Guess somebody helped him? That's nice. Hmm. Really? That's the even more drunk. And he's like, "Ooh, that was me." His heartbeat. Oh, the irony. The irony. Hmm. What? Oh. Damn. He is being. He's actually confronting him. Dang. She's still sitting by him. That's for. Dang. Really? So now Louis is taking an interest in Juno. Like, you have potential. Hmm? What? What is with this girl? Declaring war on you? What? Is this like a yandere character? I gotta say, I mean, I really don't hate Juno's character. She's a go-getter. What can I say? Maybe a bit too strong-handed, but I can appreciate a go-getter. What is this relationship? Square. Shit. Look at that! uh, Juno. Hmm. Hmm. Taking charge immediately. Not bad. Ah. And now Juno is going to see it. I knew this was gonna happen from the time Juno arrived. Oh, smell her? What? On top of the goddamn dinosaur? No. Eh, no, that's not Louis. That's Legoshi. And Juno is right behind him. Look at his. Yep, there's Juno. Oh, the drama. That's a face she's never seen before. Oh man, this is getting interesting. So the drama, but still very interesting. Alright, see you guys after this. Oh man, what an episode. Now, seriously, I'm typically not a big fan of this type of complicated, multi-angle, shoujo romance stuff, but yeah, this was definitely entertaining, right? As can be evidenced. You guys saw my reaction. Like, I was laughing my head off the whole time. Like, uh, you can tell, you can even see, like, I was probably calling out a lot of things that were going to happen, but still, once you actually see it animated on screen and whatnot, it doesn't fail to entertain, right? So, that at the end of the day, that is what is important, right? For us to be entertained by these anime and whatnot. That is the most important thing. So, good job on them. But anyways, let's talk a little bit about the episode, right? And let's start with Legoshi and Haru, because they did have a nice little, heart-to-heart in this episode, right? As mentioned, Legoshi is really sort of embracing his carnivore side, both literally and figuratively, as, a biological carnivore, and also as the metaphorical carnivore type of men who, is really more active in the dating scene, right? More active in terms of approaching girls, in terms of approaching a relationship. But with that said, however, we do, the scene where they were in the metro and talking about, what Haru was going through, it definitely came off the wrong way, right? And definitely sounded kind of preachy. Now, of course, Legoshi might not mean it that way, but I've always felt that, hey, what a girl wants to do, if that's her values, that's her morals, that's what she believes in, you can't really preach you can't try to install your own morals onto her, right? I feel like that is probably something that should have been, it's, if there was this big a moral difference, then it probably wouldn't have worked out in the first place, right? It's definitely not something to force upon others. Now, then again, however, we don't really know whether Haru was doing this really out of, voluntarily. I mean, she's doing it voluntarily, but is she actually doing it voluntarily and being happy while doing it? Or is she, and for instance, in this episode, it seems that it's more of a basic instinct, right? So the innate fear of death is driving her to live life to its fullest, or you could also say that it kind of ties in with the, natural instinct as well, and which is the desire to reproduce and leave offspring before you die, right? So if you're constantly living on the verge, or you're constantly living on the edge of death and whatnot, your biological instinct will kick in and say, okay, I need to leave an offspring, I need to leave children for the next generation. That's just nature, right? And considering that this anime does take a lot of the traits and whatnot from nature in general, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case here as well, right? So, is it actually voluntary, or is there another, deeper subconscious thing that's driving it? Don't really know, so that's why I'm not going to comment too much on that. But it definitely, just him saying it, I felt like it came off a little bit wrong, right? But yeah, and we also have this scene where Legoshi was thinking about confessing up what happened that night and deciding not to, ultimately not to in the end. And we can already predict that there's going to be some future drama and fights surrounding this topic, right? Hiding his assault and whatnot is probably going to cause some misunderstanding or whatnot, and perhaps it's going to result in an episode or two of Haru actually avoiding Legoshi, I would say. Potentially. And by the way, we still don't know why he turned berserk that night, right? It's in the midst of all this, it seems that we've sort of neglected the fact that this, initially I thought this was one of the very first things that we were going to try to solve, and that is my theory was that there's somebody going around campus with some sort of, I don't know, with some sort of drug or whatnot that's causing these carnivores to go berserk and whatnot. And that could still potentially be the case, right? It's just that we haven't, with all the other stuff happening lately, we haven't really gone back to that point yet. And then again, the attacks are still happening, right? So potentially that's still part of the story. We'll see. But yeah, that's Legoshi and Haru. And talk a little bit about Juno in this episode, right? I didn't really realize that she was going to play such a big and prominent role within Beastars, but it does seem to be that she is shaping up to be one of the major characters as well. And, it is pretty much confirmed in this episode. She is one of the, I guess, hot girls, the hotties of this fictional universe. And I gotta say, I do really like her character, right? I do, I absolutely respect these kind of girls who, not afraid to do what she wants, and also not afraid to go on the offensive side in the game of love, right? So being a proactive player in relationships and whatnot from the female side is sort of refreshing to see, and honestly should be more encouraged in my opinion, right? And she's straight, she's blunt, she's caring. She might be a little bit too overtly aggressive in a sense in terms of what she wants to do. Some people do hate these kind of people as well, thinking that they're a little bit too full of themselves or a little bit too overeager, too overactive, and that's totally understandable. She does come off as a little bit overbearing still, but being straight, being blunt, being caring and whatnot, you can't really hate on this, right? Especially if she does not have any nefarious purpose, and this is actually something that it's genuine, right? In that case, I feel like there's not really much to hate on that. And let's be honest, it was absolutely hilarious to see her advancing on Legoshi and all the onlookers, stating how obvious it is, but Legoshi himself not really responding to it at all. No, it was hilarious, especially that scene at the very end there, before the blackout, where Juno was going up to Legoshi and saying, "Hey, thank you for helping me practice and whatnot," right? And the head turn of everyone in the club, man, that completely cracked me up. That was way too hilarious. But with that being said, if there is something that I want to complain about, it's that I feel like her character developed a little bit too fast, right? And by that I mean we don't really see the process where she was this timid character, and then she met Legoshi, sort of like her Prince Charming, and she wants to enter a relationship with him, right? How did we shift from that all the way to here, where she's really self-confident, she's really outgoing, and she suddenly has this, this goal of becoming the Beastar? Like, what relation does Beastar have to do with getting together with Legoshi, right? Like, are these actually related somehow? And if it was, I want to know her thought process. Like, how did she actually arrive at this conclusion? Or was it a sense that, she's always had this sort of ambition within her? It's just that she was a little bit too shy, and even so, then what really compelled her to turn this shyness into the current outwardness that we see here, right? So I would have loved if we could see a little bit more about this type of transformation process, instead of her character just suddenly shifting to be like this all of a sudden. I feel like that's a little bit too abrupt. Like, I like her character, I just want to know how it turned into this type of character and manifested in this sort of way. So that's something I feel like perhaps the anime could have done a little bit better. And if this was, if they did actually go through more of this within the manga, do let me know. It could be a simple case of the anime not having enough time to adapt everything and so on and so forth, which is a limitation of its genre, I'm sorry, not its genre, a limitation of the media format, but still, I feel like that was kind of a flaw in terms of this in terms of her character development. And so at the very end there, right, the scene with Haru and Legoshi again, and Haru called out Louis. Oof, that's gotta hurt, right? And on the scale of, of all the things that you could do that isn't really doing anything wrong to another party, this is pretty high up there on the no-no scale, right? Man, like, I don't know. I feel like Legoshi was smiling a little bit forced there at the end. I don't know if it's just my imagination or if it's maybe that he's just bad at smiling, so that's how it turned out. Or he is having a pretty awkward smile because, well, he's a little bit furious, a little bit pissed off, a little bit sad, and so on and so forth, right? So anyways, and not only that, we also, of course, have Juno right there watching all this. And what did I say? Well, the very first time her character came out, I was like, okay, we're gonna have some drama between her and Haru in the future. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be between her and Haru, but I would venture a guess and say that, especially now that we know Juno's character is like this, she seems entirely the type to go up to Haru and say, I declare war against you. Let's compete for the affection of Legoshi. Something of that sort, right? I could totally see that happening with Juno's character. So she could go in, completely, how should I say it, with, in a just way, right? In an open and just way, and doing everything, by the book and whatnot. Or we could get a little bit darker here, right? But I don't know. I don't particularly feel that this is going to turn into that kind of case where they're trying to make Juno out to be sort of like this bitchy character who does some underhanded things. I don't think that's how this is going to go. I could be wrong, but I definitely would prefer if, especially now that she says that she wants to become a Beastar, really, I really do hope that her character is genuine, if you get what I mean, and that even though she's might not be at a sort of disadvantage here against Haru, but still she's going to fight it out on the on the actual battlefield instead of doing some sort of beneath the table kind of thing. I mean, obviously she has an uphill battle, and considering that the male lead is Legoshi and the female lead is Haru, I think it's a foregone conclusion these two are going to end up together at the very end here. So, but at the same time, I do hope that it's not going to be a case where they wreck Juno's character and turn her into sort of this bad girl, right? And it's also entirely possible that she might form an alliance with Louis as well, right? So I want Juno wants Legoshi, Louis wants Legoshi away from Haru, and so the enemy of, I guess you can't really say enemy of the enemy, but an unlikely alliance, right? And then this is just going way out there on a limb, but what if at the very end, Juno and Louis actually end up together? Like, it sounds ridiculous, but I actually would not put it past this anime to do something of that sort, especially, with what I've seen up to now within 8 episodes. And that would, again, be entirely hilarious. I wouldn't be the most surprised if that happened. But in any case, well, that was episode 8 of Beastars. A lot of drama, very entertaining, definitely, and, well, let the drama continue, I guess. Don't really know what's going to happen in the next episode. I assume, Haru's going to have another talk with Legoshi or whatnot, and like I said, Juno is definitely going to do something in regards to this situation as well, either declaring something to Legoshi or Haru or Louis, or perhaps just herself, I don't know. But, yeah, there you go. That's my review of Beastars Episode 8. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll see you guys next week. Adios.